call the March 2026 Instructional Committee meeting to order. In attendance, we have Sarah Sadowski, Barb Higgins, myself, Brenda Hastings, Superintendent Tim Hebert is here in person, and Assistant Superintendent Kim Yarlott is on line. And we are waiting for Mr. Dubois, but I'm sure he'll be here as soon as he can. So tonight we're going to start right in with some information on iPad usage in the lower grades, I think kindergarten and first grade. Will that be Kim?
Yes, it will. Thank you.
Sure.
So projecting from home, I have an iPad usage case. This is just for kindergarten and first grade as requested by the board to look at how iPads are used in the schools, to what extent, and approximately how many iPads are available to students and how many minutes per day or week iPads are used, and the purpose of the usage. And I know Katie Scarpati is there. She's going to be my critical friend to help correct any information. I have a presentation that I've had prepared for February 19th. It's not the most current presentation that's being projected. However, I can speak to all the information because I have a dual screen here set up. So the first thing I did when looking to investigate iPad usage or to try to determine the number of minutes was I sent a survey out to the principals, and the reading specialist also weighed in. The digital learning specialist also weighed in. They provided essentially what they provided was some information about its use, and I have an executive summary here that states that it's their belief that iPad use is purposeful, limited, and developmentally appropriate. Devices support individualized learning, small group instruction, and accessibility needs. Teachers report that current usage levels are appropriate and essential for equitable learning. iPads are used as supplemental tools, not replacement for hands-on instruction. I can tell you that in kindergarten, the students have carts, and they have essentially a 1 to 3, meaning that for every one iPad, there's 3 students that would have access to it. In grade 1, it's a 1-to-1 basis. Students have access to their own iPad, but it's not an iPad that they take home. It's not their own. It's an iPad in the classroom, and the same with second grade. In looking at the iPad usage, this is what is reported by the principals. Lexia is a program that is used to supplement some reading instruction, and last year, we used to have it kindergarten through 5th grade, and because we have iReady now, and iReady has the learning pathways for English language arts instruction, it would be somewhat duplicative. It's not exactly duplicative. Obviously, they have different functions, but we went to using Lexia for just K-1-2, and with the potential adoption of a new ELA program, Lexia will be eliminated altogether. But currently, at Abbott Downing School, they report that Lexia is used approximately 45 minutes a week. And the other usage at Abbott Downing, as you can see, I'm assuming that you're looking at the slides, that iReady, which is used for both assessments, not so much in kindergarten, less so, but it's used as a pathway for some reading activities, ELA activities, is used between 1 and 20 minutes per week maximum, for a total of 65 minutes per week. At Beaver Meadows School, it's very similar, but they offered some other apps that they use, such as Letter School, Word Lizard, or Line 'em Up for about 15 minutes. And Lexia is not used for all students, and it's about 20 minutes a week, equaling 50 plus minutes per week. Krista McAuliffe is very similar. They report 20 minutes daily for about 100 minutes a week for Lexia and iReady in kindergarten. And Millbrook School offers up about 70 minutes per week, so everybody's within the range. They have 10 to 15 minutes per session, 4 days a week, and they have some math apps that they use. Any questions about kindergarten? Good. Okay. Go on to
slides.
I'm sorry?
Who's advancing advancing the
That
slides?
Kim is.
Oh, Kim.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
she's good.
There we go. Thank
Okay.
you, Kim.
Yeah, I'm looking on two screens, so if you see me
Okay.
looking different ways. So at Abbott Downing School for first grade iPad usage is iReady Math. They do not use Lexia at all for first grade. And it's about 40 minutes a week, so you can tell that just the elimination of the Lexia, that it's fewer minutes than was in kindergarten. And Beaver Meadow uses iReady. It says learning games, but they're not really so much games. They're learning supports for the iReady program, about 5 to 15 minutes one time a week. And then Pebble Go, 15 minutes per day, Lexia 15 minutes 3 times a week, and Seesaw 15 minutes 2 times a week.
What is
Seesaw
Pebble
similar
Go?
to- Oh, I knew you were gonna ask that. Katie, are you there?
Katie?
Yes, Katie is here.
Pebble Go?
Pebble Go.
You gotta come up here with a microphone, darling, sorry.
It's social studies. It's science, yeah. It is an app that allows kids to access nonfiction information about social studies or science. So it's interactive, it has reading passages, but they can pick a topic and either research or learn more about that.
Great, thank you.
And Seesaw was used excessively during COVID. It's a learning management platform where teachers can assign students individualized activities for them to access. And it's the same as what we would say Schoology is at the middle and high school, similar. So that's a total of 135 minutes per week. And when I'm listing some of these apps, there are far fewer apps than there used to be during COVID. And then after COVID, we started really weaning off having so many apps available to students. So Kristen McAuliffe, again, iReady, which is essential. Lexia, Epic Books, Pebble Go again, Art Hub, and Boom Cards. I do not know what Boom Cards are. And that's 100 to 150 minutes per week, about 20 to 30 minutes per day. And at Millbrook, Lexia for 10 to 15 minutes per day, iReady 10 minutes per day, an additional Epic or Lexia on Fridays, math games from the math curriculum when finished work. So any questions about first grade?
I do have one, not necessarily just with the iPad usage, but we've been working very hard over the last few years, Kim, to try as much as we can to have the same experiences at each school. And I know that's harder in the younger grades, but when I look at this and I see one school using it about 40 minutes a week and another school using it 150 minutes a week, that's a pretty big discrepancy, and it concerns me. Are our students doing the same kinds of work at the same time? It's possible other schools are perhaps doing their math and their reading in a different way at the same time, but it just makes me pause.
I would agree. This is a really good exercise for us to look at some closer alignment. I would say that it's essential for Lexia. Lexia has an online component, and it's for both math and for grades 3 through 9 using the assessment component of it. So assessment use would make sense, and Lexia is vetted for K through 2 this year. So the other apps, I would have to have the principals speak more to that. And
Okay.
I have some additional apps that they have also listed. Book Creator, Epic, Pebble Go, and they describe that as used for targeted phonics. One's a tracing activity, vocabulary, and early reading support. And so, Brenda, I think your comment just stands alone to say that this is a really, really good exercise for us to be looking at some more continuity
Okay.
Uniformity.
and guidelines around this.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Thank you.
So, here's I just wanna make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so how iPads fit into the school day. principals and the digital learning specialists mentioned that for center rotations, that might be when you're doing, a teacher's doing a guided reading group or some type of a reading group. It might be one of the rotation activities that children do, similarly like literacy centers and math centers. And then it might be used for like a whole group use, to break, motor break or songs, a couple of times a day. Instructional benefits that are reported. It helps to run small groups efficiently, maintains independence, offers immediate feedback through adaptive apps, and collects real-time assessment. For math, it's used 2 to 3 days a week for about 10 to 15 minutes, and those are the iReady assigned activities when students are in iReady math program, because that is our program. It's different than our iReady assessment. Our iReady math program assigns students math activities that are based on their particular level of performance. So it's individualized with, they call it an iReady learning pathways. And there's also some number fluencies and additional apps. Katie mentions at her school that her neurodivergent learners who may need some type of assistive technology, it helps with engagement and allows the students to show alternate ways of their understanding. This is the proposed iPad budget. And what Dan had mentioned to me was that Dan Albert is in IT, is that it's about $325 for a new iPad, and it's leased over 4 years, but we own it at the end. And these were the proposed numbers that he provided in terms of the what it would cost. So for 110 iPads at kindergarten, you'd be looking at basically $8,900 over the 4 years of being leased. And then he added cases, and for first and second grade, he added those together, $45,000. And this is another slide to show you the impact. If it was 1-to-1, the finance cost would be at first grade would total $75,000+, and if we continue with 1-to-3, if we move to 1-to-3 or 1-to-1, it would be $58,000. Just stay with the 1-to-3. I'm going to turn to Katie right now and see if there's anything that you would like to add to these slides or this discussion for clarification before we go to questions.
I don't have anything to add, I don't think. I think it's a pretty clear picture.
I have a question. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So you look at the price for three kids to one iPad, then you look at 1-to-1 and it's significantly more money. Are we at a point where we could have 3-to-1 ratio iPads in first and second grade, or would that be a real detriment? In this, I'm not like, I look at my years teaching, and it was before all of this. I remember, star reading on the big desktop computers in the auditorium at Walker School. So I get it. Like, it was wonderful, how much more quickly we could do things. But is the feeling among teachers that they should have their own device at that young age, or?
I think it is more rare for the whole class to be using the iPad at the same time. However, there are now assessments that are done on the iPad, and especially what we're finding in second grade is we did not provide enough. We did so much paper and pencil that when they got to third grade and had assessments on the Chromebooks, it was unfamiliar. The setup, how to maneuver that and manage that. So we've tried to actually increase some of the iReady assessments that are available, getting that kids used to that assessment that way, because that's now their reality. So I do think there are times when the whole class does use their iPad, but I'm not sure
Would it be
has to be that way.
schedulable, like, say there's 3 second grade classrooms, would all 3 of them be using the iPads at the exact same time? Like, would that be like a lot, or, so I look at it this way, we spend all this money
Mm-hmm.
on these one-to-one iPads, and maybe 5 times a year, they're all using them at once. Okay, that's a lot of money for 5 times a year.
Well,
needing
they're
them
like
out?
our quizzes every week that
Okay.
they can take, right? So it's not just those bigger assessments, but I don't know, I guess it'd be a question for like digital learning specialists, because now they're assigned per student, so what would the change be?
Yeah,
Like,
because it would, obviously it would be scheduling, and,
Right.
and that can be tricky.
Right.
My school board member head is trying to, keep teachers, and so when I look at, maybe it's gonna make the day more tricky, but that's one more teacher that stays in the classroom. That's sort of where, this is why I'm asking, not that I devalue the technology and all, because I don't, I get it.
Do I think it would be impossible? No. I think it'd be a good question for us to ask teachers what the impact would be
Yeah.
if they had a half a class set or a third of a class set.
Or even a full class set that they could use if they needed to, but not everybody would have one. It would be a traveling cart like we used to use.
Right. So I think that we could bring that back and find out.
That would be super helpful. You ask questions like this, and I don't want people to think I'm not appreciative, because that's not where it's coming from at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wondered,
I guess what I would say to that, Barb, is that in second grade, we're looking to maybe get the iReady assessment for all the way down to second grade just for math. And when I see everyone on the iPad, it's usually a prompt from the iReady program. Like the teacher will have done a lesson, and then the students will go back to their workbook, and then everybody might be sent to go do one particular activity. So in second grade, I see it really helps students also be prepared for third grade in terms of doing some keyboarding activities.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I'm wondering if the larger question is, what about all the other apps? Are they necessary? If it's not related to assessments and it's not related to iReady,
Oh, that's a huge price too. I didn't think about that.
I think that might be another way to ask the question.
Okay.
Are the minutes too many as a result of students accessing too many other programs?
Yeah, I didn't even think about I was thinking just the cost was per iPad, but it's what's on the iPad.
Right,
So maybe
and-
lessening those costs, then we don't have to, okay. This is a good learning experience for me. Thank you.
I'm curious.
Go ahead, she had a.
no, go ahead, Alex.
I was just curious about looking at the numbers here at the bottom. So I see the first column is 1 to 3 in kindergarten, and then it goes 1 to 1 for first and second. I see that we also have a column for 1 to 2 at the very end. We don't have to come up with these numbers today, but I'm wondering if it would be feasible as an option to do, instead of going from 1 to 3 to 1 to 1, we did a 1 to 3 and then 1 to 2 for first and second to see what that would look like for cost wise, and just if that's efficiency wise for the kids, and that's
Like ease into it more.
And I'm wondering, Katie, do the kindergartners and the first graders do any kind of testing on the iPads? They do.
So for sure in first grade, they do some of those same quizzes. And I would say it varies by teacher and by school, even how comfortable different teachers are trying the assessment on the iPad. But when they do the assessment right on the iPad, the data is immediately available for teachers, right? So then it's easy to look at. The same with Lexia, they can look at that data and see where their kids are. So they have started doing some of those in
And are there
first grade.
still computer labs in all of the schools? There are no more computer labs?
I believe, I don't know. Do you have a computer lab?
Yeah.
That
Where
model,
the
that's
dig-
the one, that model's gone away, because we don't have computer labs in the library anymore.
Okay.
Digital arts labs, that's all that remains at the high school is 2 different digital art labs.
Okay.
And
Sarah?
there is that Runlet, but at the elementary levels, we've moved into the digital learning specialist doing push-in into the classrooms. And then students go using the library for library, it's not library media, it's just library, checking out books, etc.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is, to look at the cost, so that might be something that we can sit down with the principals and myself and look at the costs and see if there's a way that we could help with the budgetary side of things. But the other is maybe some common agreements about usage and minutes.
Well,
And
that,
I
and I
think
think the
there's-
bigger one for us, Kim, is that, research coming out of some of the Scandinavian countries are indicating that younger students should not be on devices, period, especially kindergarten and first grade. And I think we should consider that when we're looking at this kind of money. I'd certainly rather cut some devices and keep teacher, as Barb said. So I think we need to think about that. Is it in the best interest of students to be on these devices for 150 minutes a week? I'm not sure.
And
Sarah?
to that point, I'm really curious about feedback you may have heard from the community. I mean, I'll own my own bias. I'm really into Lexia. I really like iReady for identifying student gaps. But most of the parents I talk to are incredibly anti-tech. This is a tight budget year. This would be an incredibly popular line item to cut from this perspective currently. But tell me about, I'm really interested about making a more level playing field for neurodiverse learners. Can you talk to me about what you see in equity terms in the community, how this could
Sure.
impact?
I haven't had any feedback about minutes of iPad use at Millbrook that have come directly to me, so I haven't heard from anybody. I don't think we use it an excessive amount. As you can see, 15 minutes a day is not over the top. Our students who are neurodiverse use their iPads as their communication device, and we've worked really hard to start that with our 3 and 4 year olds. Instead of limiting them to that one piece of paper that has the visuals, right, the icons of stop or no, they need a more robust way to communicate. And because of that, we had students in kindergarten this year typing full sentences on their AAC to communicate, to request things. They're really beginning to use it, and some of them will always use that, and some of them will then use it as a hybrid or move away from it. But when the technology exists to support those students, it doesn't seem right to go back to those Velcro boards of just very limited
That would come under
communication.
student services. That wouldn't be part of the regular ed budget, right?
So I don't know exactly, pre-K iPads are listed in here. The other thing that's important is that there's modeling devices in the classroom so that teachers can model using the AAC communication tool as part of their instruction, right? So they are using it to model that voice along with the students. So some of those devices do come out of that. Some of them, I know our preschool was listed. I thought I saw it on here somewhere. And so they have classroom iPads that they use, and our hope is that it can have that software on it. I think it is important when we know that there's something that's more beneficial for them to make sure they have access to it. And we've seen even as young, it's 3, 4s, and 5s are starting to communicate with it.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Kim, is there anything else?
I had just sent you a screen that you can't see from the National Library of Medicine, which states that screen media use may have both beneficial and detrimental effects on kids' cognitive results. Media devices with screens have the potential to improve education and learning. For instance, research has suggested that electronic books and learning to read applications may improve young children's early reading skills and creative thinking capacities. However, studies have also demonstrated the negative effect of screen media use on a number of cognitive areas such as executive functioning, sensory-motor development, and academic outcomes. Media multitasking was found to have a negative impact on executive functioning in teenagers, notably in working memory, inhibition, and the capacity to switch between tasks. So we know the research out there. I know the research that you're referring to in the Scandinavian countries where they're actually taking away devices altogether. I think the important thing is to be aware of how much time students are using and how much screen time they're having during the school day, knowing that they're likely going home and having even more additional time. So I think we have, in kindergarten, we have pretty common number of minutes, and in first grade, we have a common number of minutes. But I think the next step for a conversation is to look at the cost, look at the minutes, and look at what the research says, and come up with some agreements and almost like goalposts about what it is and how it is that we're going to be using, particularly at the younger age, preschool, kindergarten, first grade, how we're going to be using devices.
And I think too, if we've purchased curriculum that's part of it, then or if we are moving away from using it, then what are they offering in place of that, or what's the alternative?
Right.
And we want our kids to be, I'm not a big screen person, but when they go to third grade and they are taking that SAS, it's very different than what they've experienced at Millbrook maybe. So I just want to be cognizant of, if whatever move we make, if curriculum has it embedded, then how do we support teachers so they're not trying to fill that time or find their own tools on the side?
Right. Yeah, there's two pieces to it that didn't really dawn on me in the beginning. The device and then what's on the device.
Mhm.
So that makes good sense. Okay.
All right, well,
Yes, thank you.
So now I guess we're moving on to the short version of some math proposals.
Just bear with me for a second while I get the presentation up. Okay, hopefully this is the short version. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so I wasn't able to share. Getting a message from Jenny, Tim. I'll just talk it out. Okay, to join. Okay, so this is the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment CIA budget proposal for 26-27, and it was essentially developed before we were really looking at serious cuts. And I want to say that everything in here was work that we've been doing over the last year and a half or so towards new curriculum programs, and we currently have 26 teachers piloting an English language arts program in grades 1, 3, 5, and 6. And we have teachers piloting an algebra program at grades 8, 9, 10, 11. So this was the work that we've been doing up until this time, and recognize that with a funding stream that is incredibly vulnerable, the high level hopes that we were looking for may not be attainable. Nonetheless, this was for using instructional funds. So overall, the CIA budget does not represent any significant increases. As a matter of fact, it recommending some decreases in some areas. For assessments, we'll continue to use the Universal Screener iReady, which we use 3 times a year for students in grades 3 through 9, less so in 9. We just use it for the beginning of the year. And that is to monitor student progress in both math and ELA. And there was a proposal to add grade 2 for math assessments so that we can better inform 3rd grade teachers about students' performance in math. The reason we're mentioning math only is that a new ELA program would have an embedded reading assessment that we would use. We also have started a couple of years ago having 9th and 10th graders take the PSATs, so that comes with a cost. And we have curriculum materials that will be based on the pilots that we would be bringing forward to both the Instructional Committee and the board. And the other part of my budget is that we have professional development funds. So this is an example of some of the professional development funds. We have CIA, that's Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, salary accounts. So we have for the PD salaries, for example, this is when for example, March 20th, we have a PD day, and teachers will come forward and offer to facilitate and pay them it's not a stipend, it's an hourly amount to prepare for a presentation for professional development. The year prior, we had a budget of $40,000, and I'm proposing to move that down to $25,000. And the reason is that we've had some fluidity in our Title II funds. Title II are state and federal funds that are used for professional development to help to offset costs. So we have a savings there. And then we have the curriculum salaries, and that's work done over this summer. Last year, we had 33 educators who put in proposals to work for anywhere from about 5 to 15 hours over the summer doing curriculum development work, which is incredibly helpful. It helps to move so many programs forward. It helps with doing a lot of alignment for our curriculum in our curriculum areas. Teachers were able to get a lot of work done getting their curriculum aligned on Schoology and building some rubrics for assessing students' work. And again, I'm proposing that in the summer, we can bring that down to 21,000 for the same reason that we have Title II funds that could offset this summer's curriculum work, for a total reduction of $44,000. And then I have a line item in my budget that is for contracted services. That might be somebody who, for example, we hire in as a keynote speaker. Anyone we hire in from the outside. Currently, we have New Hampshire Learning Initiative doing some professional learning community work at Runlet School, Abbott Downing School, and the high school. So it's anytime we bring in, maybe we bring in a presenter from one of the professional development days. For example, we're bringing in Dana French to work with our ML population teacher educators, and so there would be a stipend based on that. Proposed professional development budget for next year, I think that we can absorb it all through Title II funding. So we have a cost saving of about $68,000 there. Now I want to tell you a little bit about what it is that we are proposing for the coming year in terms. So from January to beginning in the summer, we had a committee for English language arts, and we looked at a plethora of programs, that ELA programs. We used research to determine which programs we were going to look at. We had a very rigorous process to basically get down to 2 programs that we would agree to pilot. We had presentations from all of the different companies that we were looking at. It was, like I said, very, very rigorous, very thorough. We use EdReports, which is a national research firm that recommends programs that meet the standards and meet the guidelines of the science of reading. And based on that, that was our original selection, and we were able to dwindle it down to 6, and then we dwindle it down to 2. And those are Amplify, and the other one is My View, My Perspectives. My Perspective is the 6th grade version of My View. So, like I said, we have 26 teachers currently piloting, which was a huge lift because you were essentially asked to stop what you were currently doing for your English language arts instruction, and including writing, and come up with a 120-minute block which both of these programs require, to be able to do a stop and start. And the teachers, I have to say, have done beautifully and are to be commended for all of their effort. Everyone who's doing it had volunteered. So the goal for the ELA next steps, which was determined right from the beginning of the school year as we started this endeavor, was to make a recommendation to the school board. We have hoping to bring it to the Instructional Committee in April. We have rubrics that everyone has filled out, and a questionnaire survey about how well they like the program and if they wanted to recommend it. I would say, in talking with principals so far, the teachers will say it doesn't matter which program, they're both great and they're so happy to even have a program. And both of these programs include writing instruction, spelling, vocabulary. I would say currently the gap in our ELA instruction are those areas, because we had purchased Hegarty and foundations at the early grades when I had come on in 22-23 as sort of an urgent step to get some boost the students' phonics, and now we're really looking at something that's considered to be a comprehensive ELA program, which would include the phonics, the vocabulary, the spelling, the building of knowledge, content knowledge. So the approximate cost for that adoption for over 5 years is $750,000. And I know that's a big price tag gasp, but again, this was intended for funds that have been set aside for curriculum purchases through the trust. And currently, one of the programs has offered to offset that over 2 years, that cost.
Kim, can you just give us the reduction, if you have it, I don't know if you have that available to you, in what we would save in some of the programs that we would no longer need to subscribe to? You gave that to us last week, but I don't recall how much it was.
So I'm showing here, it's 165,000, have you seen this screen?
Oh, okay, yes, yep.
Okay, so that was my last slide. The other savings came from the things that I presented earlier, but, so that what we would eliminate likely is, we would, since it has a built-in phonics program, we would, not need to have foundations being taught every day, nor Haggerty, so the elimination of those programs. Nonetheless, I don't wanna make that decision in isolation of the principals and the teachers. We could consider purchasing foundations through Title I funds and use it as a tier 2 program. So that discussion still needs to be had with the principals, and we would make that decision as a team, but, certainly we would not need to have Haggerty foundations and a comprehensive literacy program. That would be redundant. Nonetheless, we've seen a lot of really good things happen with the Wilson foundations, and it is typically used as a tier 2, among barracks that have adopted new programs, which there are many nationwide who have.
And if I'm correct in assuming that this would be covered by our instructional trust fund? This would not come out of
Yes.
this would not come out of the
At this
general
point.
budget?
This is not an operating budget proposal.
Yep, that's great, thank you.
Tim, do you wanna speak to that more?
Just, we do have it listed in the budget, but we have it as a zero impact because it would come from the instructional trust.
Just wanna make sure everyone understands that this is a big expense, but we've been planning for it and have the money to cover it, so it will not be coming out of, it would have a zero impact on our this year's budget. Okay.
I think that's really important for the public to hear, Brenda, especially when we're in a reduction, kind of mode right now, and, this would not be doable if it weren't for other funds.
Right. Thank you.
So that would be what I would consider the highest priority for the curriculum instruction and assessment. Nonetheless, I wanted to share with you another pilot that's been going on, and that was a new algebra and geometry program for grades 8 through 11. And the reason for this is Runlet Middle School and the high school have program, so that's what's different than with the ELA. We don't have a comprehensive program K through 6. We already have a program. We've been using Eureka and Open Up at Runlet Middle School and the high school. Nonetheless, we have seen that our scores aren't great. They've been tilting up a little bit. And the program it's very teacher intensive in terms of supplementing these two programs, and they're also free math programs, so you're not getting your cream of the crop, really great program. Sort of a cry from the educators in both Runlet and high school was to take a look at some other alternatives. So we did the same type of thing. We pulled lots of programs together. We had vendors sending us all sorts of materials. We looked through all of them, and really there was only one that stood out, and it's called Carnegie Math. They weren't interested in piloting any of the others. They were too similar to what they have right now in terms of Eureka and Open Up. They're developed by something called illustrative math, and they follow a certain scope and sequence that's there's lots of different authors, and it's very confusing, so this is the one that they landed on. The feedback has been positive thus far. I have not done the final meeting with the teachers and the team to determine if this was a yes, we really love this, we can't live without it, and this is exactly the program we want, or no, we want to stop the pilot and we want to consider taking a pause and re-looking at other programs in the next year. So I don't have that determination for you. I'm intending to bring that as well to the Instructional Committee in April. with a definitive, yes, we'd like to go ahead with this purchase, or no, we'd like to revisit other programs. So that would be also a 5-year program. So here is it in totality, the 5-year English language arts, that price for K through 6 is $750,000, and approximately, because again, we have 2 programs, they're both in that close price range, and one of the programs has offered to split that cost over 2 years. That comes with professional development, which we would use Title II funds for, getting the teachers up and running with that program next year if it's approved, adopted. The 5-year 8 through 11 is the $316,500. That's again over 5 years. One other thing I had mentioned was bringing the diagnostic iReady assessment down to 2nd grade, which is an additional $3,000 to do that. And 7th grade at Runlet Middle School piloted the iReady math program and or asked for that to be purchased, so that essentially what would happen is students in kindergarten through 7th grade would now have the iReady math program, so there's lots of continuity and alignment there. And the 8th through 12th grade would be using the new Carnegie, so now we're down to 2 programs district-wide with a lot of consistency there. This is the approximate total, just over 1 million, and I want to just check. Yeah, that's the approximate total for all of that, and the overall savings is $922,500. So again, I'm going to emphasize that just the top tier of the ELA is really the priority. Everything else is refinement, and alignment, but is not going to, wouldn't have a significant impact on student learning, whereas right now the absence of a comprehensive literacy program that's aligned to the science of reading, which, by the way, is a mandate by the state beginning the following year, that every district must be providing a research-based comprehensive literacy program that is aligned to the science of reading.
Kim, do we have monies left over in the trust fund to cover any of the math, if that is what you guys decide to come forward with?
I believe that I've been told that the trust fund currently is over 2 million.
That's correct.
So, so is that correct?
And we were borrowing for another, I thought we were gonna move some out of instructional to something else, and I wanted to make sure that money would still be there for these programs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
All right,
yep.
thank you. Any other questions?
I had a word dance presentation, which I should have the next instructional committee if you'd like. It goes into the science of reading and goes into the sort of the brain research behind why it is that there's different components of reading, where it's not, you have the phonics, but you also need to really build content knowledge and all the different strands, and I can share some of that with you, but for the purpose of a budget presentation, this is all that I felt was necessary.
Well, thank you very much, Kim. I think that the instructional committee, I think I'm speaking on behalf of all of us, that we agree and we feel strongly that a school district needs 2 things to be successful. You need students and you need teachers, and your teachers need something to teach. So, we have some tough cuts to make this year, but I would not want to see it come at the expense of students or teachers, if at all possible. So we're working hard to do this. We appreciate the work that goes into presentations like this. We know we're asking for a lot, and we appreciate your work on that. And look forward to you bringing us the math program. So are you looking for us to do anything tonight? Do you need a vote from us this evening?
No vote is needed. This is information only, as was all of the other budget presentations. In April, when we bring the programs forward, provided that that we can access the funds, at that point we'll look for a vote. You'll have either one of the two reading programs brought forward, and if we just decide to go forward with the Carnegie, which I'm not sure at this point, but that will be all clear once I have surveyed all the teachers.
Yeah, in April, we'll have to allocate the funds, we'll have to vote on that.
And we already have them, so that's not a big deal to do. So that's great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And is there any other matter for us to handle tonight?
I don't think so, just more information on where the teachers are around the iPads with the littles.
Yeah.
Ways to streamline time, while at the same time balancing their need to be ready for third grade and the Chromebooks and money and all of it.
And could they do without iPads in kindergarten and first grade and preschool? I mean, I think that's where we're looking. If we were gonna cut something, it wouldn't come from second grade. We understand they need to be ready for third grade. Would 1 year be enough to do that, is I guess what we're kind of wondering. I know, big ask.
Yeah.
Sure, so I will get together with all of the elementary principals and bring those questions forward and have an answer for you by the end of this week.
It sounds great. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
have a good evening. I'll be listening in, to the board meeting, and I'm gonna sign off now, though.
All right.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Are there any other
Thank
matters?
you.
Seeing none, we'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Ms. Higgins, seconded by Ms. Sadowski. We will call the instructional committee complete for tonight.
Thank you.
Hey, Katie, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
take the roll.
Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Du Bois?
Here.
Ms. Hastings?
Here.
Ms. Higgins?
Here.
Ms. Meeker?
Here.
Ms. Minot?
Here.
Ms. Sadowski?
Here.
Ms. Walsh, and I am here.
Thank you. I would like to suggest, I know the administration has worked on some additional personnel options, that we start our meeting with the non-public so that we can talk through specifics of those in case folks have any questions, and then we can come back and start making decisions, hopefully. And as a reminder, the broad discussions in schools and things like that, that's all a public discussion, but there are specific positions and people in positions that board members might have questions about. Do people agree with that? So I will move under 91A3 that we go into non-public session to discuss personnel issues.
Second.
Moved by me, second by Ms. Boucher. This is a roll call vote.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Du Bois?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Yes.
Ms. Meeker?
Yep.
Ms. Minot?
Yes.
Ms. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh, and I am a yes.
You all can stay here. We will move, and hopefully we will be done within a half hour. second by Ms. Meeker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. I'll take a motion to seal the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Meeker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Campbell. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Boucher, will you call the roll?
Ms. Campbell? Yes. Mr. Dubois?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Yes.
Ms. Meeker?
Yep.
Ms. Minot?
Yes.
Ms. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh, and I'm a yes.
We lost Mr. Dunn, but I know he's reprinting some things. Just to give people a sense of how we're gonna do it, we're gonna give an overview of types of positions, types of other reductions, not trying to avoid specifics where it's all possible. Go through some of the other line item reductions. We will allow people, if they choose to testify once we finish that, and then we will go through and start making some decisions for the budget that we will post. The budget that we post is not the end of the project process. There will be 2 public hearings for people to come and speak about the posted budget, and then we will come back and make final decisions after that. Superintendent, would you like to
All
start?
right. So to start, like I said in a previous meeting, there are certain areas when we're looking at the budget that are your drivers of your budget. There's your building facilities and capital projects. There's programming, subscriptions, and curriculum that we're purchasing, technology, and personnel. So as we are going through this, the reductions in the budget that we're gonna talk about are across these buckets. In the end, as we go up in one, if we increase the cost of one, we may have an impact on the other. Those are the things we have to look at. Those are the variables we'll be looking at. When it comes to the personnel, it's hard. It's a difficult conversation. The reality is, it is the majority of the budget. When you're facing the deficit that we are facing and the loss of revenues we are facing from both state and federal, we're gonna have to make difficult decisions. What we have discussed and put together as a proposal, it hits across all CBAs. There is, everybody's going to be impacted by this. Each collective bargaining agreement would be impacted by the proposed, reductions. The reality is, these are proposed reductions. We talk about it. We're trying to maintain safe, quality learning environments for our students. Trying to think about how each of these reductions could impact our students. When we're talking about personnel, when we're talking about programming, when we're talking about improvement to the facilities that they're learning in, we should consider how it's going to impact them and maintain the things that the board set out to maintain safe, quality learning experiences for all our students, giving them the opportunities that they deserve. With that being said, would you like me to go through the line of things, non-personnel?
I think we have gone through that a lot, if they're
Okay.
on
No.
last Thursday. Are there additions to that we should be looking at?
There is only one more grouping that you had not seen, and it's labeled Group 5. It's small, but one of the items on there does affect elementary level, and I did have the conversation with the director there for the Capital Center, but that is probably one that you'll just need to think about.
And what is it?
So the music in our schools, we give $20,000 to the Capital Center for the Arts, and that handles the elementary. It also handles things for the high school as it relates to rental. But we put it on the list because you wanted everything that was optional, so that's what that is.
So when we have plays, do our parents have to pay to go? And even
They
see-
do, and it goes in the student activity, but there is a reduced rental rate and additional opportunity to give. Then in the music in our schools is the pre-purchase of the tickets that goes to the elementaries, and they feel we bus the kids over to the Capital Center. That's probably the bulk of it.
I will say though, Brenda, if ever there's a family that can't afford to, there are funds available, but I don't believe I've ever seen anybody denied admittance.
So just as a
very broad overview, even without this new group that we're just seeing for the first time,
Yeah.
we're talking about 6.8 million in budget reductions that are non-staffing.
Right. Yep.
Actually, did just have a quick question about this packet.
Mhm.
I was reading it over the weekend, and especially like on page 2, there seem like there's line items that are doubled. So like 1,700 for CMS reading books and printed materials. 3 line items down, CMS reading books and printed materials for 1,700. So they-
Danielle was doing the right sizing, moving it to the appropriate account, because from an accounting standpoint, some things that were in books should actually been supplies because they're consumables. We used to have it to where anything above $500 was equipment, but it's the $5,000 now. So there should be things that shouldn't be books and they should be in
Those are
supplies.
both reductions on the same account for the same.
But you might see an addition somewhere else. Or if it's money they haven't spent, it is eliminated.
But is it a duplicate because it's the same amount on this sheet
Right,
twice?
On the
for
same account.
line item?
That's possible, yes, because of the way the budget came into us. It could have been duplicated before what we developed and what the school developed. Yes.
So there's 2 $1,700 reductions that actually should be a single $1,700 reduction.
I will
You're
go.
saying that money has moved elsewhere, is what you're saying.
I will get you the specific details so we're not talking in hypotheticals,
Yeah, and we
because there'll be
can
enough of that tonight.
There's 2 $1,400s, 2 $800s. I just don't want us to
Yep.
think that we have reduced when we have.
You have on the bottom of page 7, a reduction, a loan from the instructional trust to
Yep.
cover the health risk assessment.
Yep. So I did, part of the logic this weekend in thinking about that was trying to figure out how to balance between a budget that you are posting now and a budget that you will pass tentatively March 31st versus October when you'll need to deal with it and June when you have a year-end balance. So we have a precedent for doing this where we have taken from your trust an amount to borrow. If anybody who was on the board remembers, we borrowed from one of the trust funds to pay for technology one year because there was no technology trust fund. Doing this to mitigate the impact of that health risk assessment for your last payment. You would pay it back into that trust, but if we get to the year end and you have enough, if the valuation comes in higher, you could pay it off. I've tried to give flexibility because it is a one-time expense. It's not an ongoing expense. So that's why it was done, trying to get you to a number of being flat. Okay. And the other keynote is we took, if you remember, the $1,048,000 is what we had when we presented, and that was the amount that you were going to have from the instructional trust to buy 2 programs, okay? The ELA and the new math program. I can't speak to the math at the moment, maybe you can, but the ELA program, we reached out to the vendor, and they're offering to pay that over 18 months, 2 different fiscal years with no additional interest. So by lowering that down, that amount, that what made me open my mind to say, let me see if I can do the health risk assessment that way. So this way, I'm not taking any more out, it's a loan, and it gives you have multiple points in which we can make it go away, okay? So that's why you're seeing the reduction for that in those lines.
Other questions on the line item, on the non-personnel line item document? We had discussed this last week. There's some bigger proposals in there, including moving students back from Second Start and expanding our alternative high school program at the high school, moving central office into the high school and selling this building eventually, but there is cost savings even from not selling. And we talked about some of the personnel, but there's some big proposals and the additional proposals in terms of how our schools are administered that I think you should explain.
You want me to talk about?
Tier 4.
Tier 4. Tier 4, so Pam's in referencing, is looking at the student-to-administrator ratio, state minimum standards and 500 to 1. So one administrator to 500 students in the school. And looking at our current administrative structure across elementary, middle, and high. And considering could it be done, we currently have vacancies too at the elementary level, could it be done sharing administrators across 3 elementary schools, so 5 elementary schools, 3 administrators across 5 elementary schools for the purpose of covering the special ed LEA work that is done currently by our assistant principals. And I know there's more that they do than just that. This is a model that, again, individuals who have been in the district for years, there was a time where we did have rotating administrators through, or they're actually directors at the time, they were teachers that rotated through the schools and acted as the LEA for meetings. This is just something to consider given that those are current vacancies at the administrative level. Again, applying that mathematical logic to the situation, a consideration of both middle and high school examination of the administrative structure, and could we have a reduction there? So you need the principal certification. So 500 students, our enrollment at RMS is currently 751. We have 2 assistant principals and a principal. The high school, our enrollment at the high school will drop below 1,300. We currently have 3 assistant principals and a principal. So in theory, RMS is administratively staffed to handle 1,500, and in theory, the high school is administratively staffed to handle 2,000. So those are considerations that are also put on this list.
Both of those schools had those populations at one time, with those number of administrators. There weren't more administrators for more students.
And that's why we have to leave this building. It's apparently gonna fall
apparently
apart on us.
I don't know what that sound is, and I don't.
Board members have questions. Bridget, can I bother you to make copies for the audience of the document?
I
You
have, yeah.
Thank you. I just think it'd be helpful
Yeah.
if we make it available to people.
I am curious, are we seeing this as a presentation tonight, or is this just for our?
It's for we would like to think about messaging, how we can make that simple, for the public, very accessible, without all the numbers and large spreadsheets.
Yep.
And this was crafted by Terry Wolf to potentially assist us in getting the key points of this conversation.
All right, thank you.
But I do think it might make sense to take a step back, Mr. Dunn, and review what the revenue situation in particular, because a lot of what is driving this is a dramatic loss in state and federal revenue or contributions.
Yeah, so let me, when I do my little thing, yeah. So this is a slide we presented to you on Wednesday night, and just want to highlight, forget the expense side, because that, again, that was what we were giving you a breakout as of March 4th where things stood. So how the tax rate's breaking out is, if you look at the local and take out less taxes, you're only projected to raise $9,900 more in local revenue than current year. For the state, you're losing from the state $3.425 million. So, as you mentioned, you would like to have gotten to a goal of 5%. Well, 4.47 of that is a loss of revenue. If you're trying to get to 5% with a 10.2% increase in health insurance and collectively bargained raises, it's a little hard to do that on 0.53. So that'd be equivalent to another $300-some thousand to fit everything else in. Electricity, all the inflationary things that are happening. Then you're having a decrease in the federal 0.11 or 83,000. And then you have a decrease equivalent to 5.23 on the tax rate of money coming in from trust funds that we were using to mitigate absences, as well as the health risk assessment, as well as the student services costs for transportation and for contracted services. So we try to do that, to do that, but it keeps going up. It's not there anymore. And then the last item, which is equivalent to 1.44% on the tax rate, is the unassigned fund balance. So that's savings from this year going to next year, and we're projecting to be 1.1 less in savings. So you start out of the gate with a loss of revenue of 11% on a tax rate. Again, if we could get the expenses down to 0, you're still at an 11% increase just because of the revenues. Hope that helps.
The unassigned fund balance, I'm guessing, is also critical to manage cash flow. Right, it's not just savings that you are nice to pass on from one fiscal year to another.
No, it's savings that the next budget relies on, so when that goes down, it impacts it. But no, for cash flow, because we have the trusts, if we get into a tight bind, plus the cash flow schedule we have designed with the city and the way income tax property taxes come in, we're okay. Our biggest payroll is the June 30 payroll, because that's where the balloon checks happen and people get paid out their contracts.
So if we did not transfer over the ideal amount of unassigned fund balance, we're creating a budget hole in next year's budget.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but there is not an immediate hole or issue that creates.
No.
Got it.
Any other questions, comments from board members before we allow for public testimony?
You wanna talk about this?
Do you want to talk about
Before we have testimony?
the elementary
Sizes.
class sizes?
So I know this is a particular pain point for a lot of us, which is the potential reductions and and therefore increase in class size at the elementary school level. We were given homework over the weekends, which is these large sheets with what the classes would look like if the proposed reductions were made. I just want to hold space because I know that people had questions before we met tonight. I want to make sure questions get answered or concerns are addressed before we open it to public testimony. This one. So for myself, on option 2, I think we're getting pretty darn high with our class sizes, even though we're still technically within range of what our policy dictates. I am comforted by that we have contingency funds if we need to hire, if we see an influx of students. And so I just want to state publicly that I'm okay with moving forward with posting the budget tonight with these numbers.
I think the question that I have had is the numbers aren't dramatically different from this current year, although I would like them to be lower in the lower grades in particular, but I'm not sure how we would distribute the personnel to get there in a meaningful way either. Ms. Boucher?
My comment is along the same lines, as I really don't see much of a difference with those eliminated positions. However, I have a lot of trouble with kindergarten being 20 to 21 students. So I don't see that those positions would necessarily impact, but I don't feel comfortable.
Well, and so that is certainly where we can look as we look at the proposal, whether it looks like it's really Beaver Meadow and Krista McAuliffe have the highest kindergarten numbers, with Abbott Downing right behind. Millbrook actually seems lower, looking at 26, 27 projections. They seem so, maybe there's potential there.
I'll just say, of the now 72 possible positions we've looked at reducing, the 6 elementary teachers that result in these increased class sizes are the ones that I would put last.
I just want to caution that it is not actually 72 positions.
Okay.
It's 72 line items.
Line items that are.
Some of that is, the central office administration has volunteered not to take raises.
Sorry, it's not positions.
Yeah, no,
The-
but for people out here, I want to sort of what some of the categories are. There are certain positions that it would not be.
People, well, yeah, and people have offered to reduce days, because of the nature of the climate we're in. So then, these are not all positions across the board, and there's groups of individuals who are not instructors, who are not unaffiliated groups, who have offered things up that make up this list. So there is a good portion of this list that is not reflective of teaching positions, so.
But
that is
it's
accurate.
still an incredible amount, and
Of all of the possible staffing reductions
Yes.
that we've discussed,
Yeah.
these 6 elementary classroom teachers, I would put as the last possible thing that we should look at. Because I think we're doing our students a disservice right off the bat in their elementary education. They need that strong foundation. And when you have a class of 23 students, nobody's getting what they need.
Exactly. I agree with that completely, Madeline.
I just want to make one thing clear. In this, because we do not have accurate who's going to come into kindergarten numbers, because our preschool's, limited and it's not universal. We don't have, that across all schools. And although we have canvassed what's out there in some of the private schools around here, we really don't have legitimate numbers for our kindergarten. So we just kept the numbers steady into next year. So that just as that number could be higher, that number could be lower going into next year. I just want to put that out there as a caveat.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Guerin, would you mind putting your microphone in the public comment? Or Mr. Cashman, thank you. We're going to try and keep public comment to a half hour, but if anyone would like to comment, you are welcome to come up. Please identify yourself. Anyone? All right. Well, seeing no one, I'm going to close, going, once, twice, sold. Okay, I'm going to close that. And again, decisions we're making tonight are not final, but we need to start putting something in for the budget to post. I would suggest we start with the non-personnel line items sheets, just because I think that's a little easier to work through, so this one. I might make a motion to do it by groups, or suggest that we do it by groups, or the only one I have a real issue with is the music in the schools, I gotta be honest. But I just think families may not be turned away, but they do not come sometimes when they see there's a charge.
Are we starting with group 5 then?
Looking at this.
Yeah, sorry, I thought we were gonna
I
start
just
like
need
group
to make
1,
it-
group
yeah,
2, group 3.
Yeah, so, but, does anyone want to make a motion on group 1?
Wait, sorry.
Is that this?
Yes.
And I also just want some clarification. What is the purpose of making motions if the end result is to like to post a budget? Do you want
Well,
specific
because-
motions for
because-
removal of any item from this list? Is that
Because
what-
we have to, the budget we have, the budget that we started with, does not include these reductions. So we have to sign off on these reductions in order for them to be in the posted budget. So the purpose is, are we gonna take these reductions, changes, some of these in group one are revenue enhancements, or not?
We could go about it two ways. We can have discussion about both this non-personnel list and the personnel list and do it as one, or we can go through, chunk it up, and whatever way is most digestible for the board, take it piece by piece to make sure that we've had adequate discussion around it before we bring anything forward. So maybe we should start there. What would be most useful for you to go through these and quite lengthy items?
It makes sense to me to start with the non-staffing ones. I think maybe instead of going through and approving things one by one, we could bring up if there are any items that we would like removed
So-
from this list or that have concerns.
So then if someone wants to make a motion to approve all of the items on this list, and then people can make motions to remove items.
I would make a motion to include all of these budget adjustments in the posted budget for
Moved by
this.
Ms. Minot, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meeker, discussion. Ms. Minot?
The only item in here that I have a hard time including is the loan for the health assessment. I'm concerned that we're doing that hoping for a miracle. That money's gonna show up somewhere to pay back the loan. It's possible we'll have a balance and be able to pay back the loan. I'm concerned that we're just creating a problem for next year, because we're gonna have to, that money's gonna have to come from somewhere. So, though it helps us this year,
What is the balance in the instructional trust?
2.3 million before the transfer.
And so even if we paid, even if the loan wasn't repaid in the first year, we'd still have enough for the second payment on the new ELA program and new math programs.
Yes.
We just discussed that tonight, tonight's instructional, and while we're only looking at purchasing the ELA program this year, math will come up next year, and there would be enough money to cover both and this in the instructional committee's trust.
And just real quick, if everybody could bring their microphones as close as possible. The recording from the last meeting was very difficult to hear.
So I get what you're saying. This also represents almost 1% on the tax rate. And I think if we have to take 4 or 5 years to pay ourselves back, and it's also the cost of 3 to 4 teachers, I can live
okay,
with
I was
that.
under the impression, how it was presented, that we had to pay it back. I guess if there's no deadline to pay it back, and where we can pay it back 10% per year over the next 10 years, then that's different.
What we do is every year, at the end of the year, we would reallocate what we have remaining in the budget appropriately. And
Right.
that's where we
And-
would have an opportunity to pay ourselves back.
Okay.
But if it's not there at the end of the year, you can only appropriate what you have.
Okay, got it. That's not how I understood it, but that makes
I mean,
more
we
sense
could
now.
also vote to we could take it out of that trust and put it in the health trust if we wanted, to, so it seems, but I think we will have the ongoing instructional needs, so I would like to see us start setting aside money, hopefully in a better year to pay that back.
Okay.
Other comments? I'm gonna move to remove the last item, which is the 20,000 for music in the schools.
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Boucher. I just think it's not a lot of money, but it's a lot of impact.
Yeah, I agree, at $25,000, it's not helping us, significantly.
So,
Well, the impact of music on students, especially unhappy students and disenfranchised students, is immeasurable.
other comments?
Well, I would ask, because again, a lot of these line items are just moving things from budget to budget. Are there other impacts to music programs in these line items that should also be considered? Like if we're making a stand for
This one, right, good
this,
point.
and we're shaving $300 off the violin teacher, for instance. I know we talked about that, but
Oh, that's a
that was
staffing piece.
explained.
Yeah.
Are there
There's nothing that I can think of, like I look on page 3 of 8, and it says RMS music equipment moved to supplies for instruments.
Right.
We
A lot of
kept it
things
all
have
the
just
same.
moved.
It's
Okay.
because of the way it's classified for our financial reporting. It's really, so.
Also, did we ever find out what the RMS View Sonic Gym projector is?
Yeah,
Did we find that out?
I actually meant to tell you this weekend, sorry. I put it's a hyperlink in that
Yeah.
document. It is just a glorified standing projector because it can broadcast during the day. So it is an actual projector, not one that hangs from the ceiling. Like if you were to go into the Millbrook Road, you're gonna see a big projector. This is a projector for Runlit that sits on a stand and can broadcast onto their screen. For those that were at the session, for the new middle school, remember how whitewashed that was?
Yes.
It improves that.
Um,
Look at that.
Done and done.
We're
So
gonna
it's
put
not
a
a-
really nice one in the new school.
One?
Yes, that one will be fixed and all that, but this is a portable version of the big one that will be mounted in a.
So
in a
this is
newer
added
school.
at this time because it's thought to be very necessary?
Just they requested it.
But we took,
So I-
but it's out in this budget. I think.
No, it's
No, no, no,
added
it's
by
added.
these, it's added by these adjustments.
Well, before we look at others, can we vote on the existing motion? Anyone further on the existing motion?
Yeah, I think as long as there's no other music-related items to consider as part of this subject, I'm good.
Can you help me understand I think I understand it, to make sure, the 20,000 for the Capital Center Arts, so that's what we pay them to get discounted tickets, or do we pay to use
Yeah,
the
I will
facilities?
send you a copy I've asked for a proposed contract for next year, and I have it for this year. So what they do is they provide tickets for daytime, that's called the Lincoln Financial Education Series,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for all students K1, 2, and 3. Educational series shows were
Okay.
specifically selected to connect the school curriculum in a variety of subjects. This will allow 1,000 tickets to be distributed to students in this age range. The total, and then the whole value of everything is 45,000, but they charge us 20. That's just for the tickets. Then there's a whole piece as it relates to the nonprofit rental rate for what the high school uses for their shows. Then there's a whole use of equipment that is extremely discounted from 15,000 in value down to 3,000, and then they allocate 4,500 to offset any hard costs for rental. So all of that is in the 20.
Okay, so field trips include, like, that's, okay.
Yeah.
I was just
We only
curious.
pay to have to transport them together there, and the principals do a good job with their staff in trying to figure out what they have to, and I think Katie's here to, she's done that. With the music in our schools, you guys pick what concerts you're gonna go and get the
Yep,
tickets and all
no,
that.
that's perfect.
And what are all the Raptor items above that?
That's the visitor program, the little touchscreen thing
Oh,
When you-
in the school.
When you
Yeah,
come
yeah.
into the school and you sign in, it's a digital sign-in.
yeah.
It crashes more often than not. It's not a reliable system. And although it's small money, I think if we were able to find a reliable system for that amount of money, that the schools would be more open to it. But
Okay.
as of right now, you know,
Something we wouldn't mind getting rid of? Sounds good.
So we have a motion on the table
Sorry,
on the Capital Center for the Arts. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes to keep that 20,000. Any other amendments, questions? I just didn't want to lose track of the motion.
I mean, I think at some point, because we're not working on the day-to-day with these schools, that we have to trust that this is what they can bear, right? These are reductions that they have proposed, they know about, they're aware of. So it's not really, from my perspective,
I will say some of the reductions, yes, some of the reductions, when we've discussed where we would land about what it could be, but to say definitively it's that reduction, we haven't done that yet.
okay. All right.
All right, all in favor of the list of budget adjusted lines, so this 8-page document with the last item removed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. And that is, I don't know how much that is in savings.
The 6.8 million.
$6.8 million. So before we, I do appreciate the administrators of all the buildings and the central office really scouring to find every dime before we went to personnel. How would folks like to approach this? Would they like to go down in the tiers? Would they like to go down position number by number? Take it all as one and then remove certain certain line items that we can then have further discussion about? We could, start with, a motion for all the items except for.
Can we do it by tier?
We should do all the items like we did in the last one, and then remove.
But, so if that's the motion you want to make, yep.
I'm gonna ask to include all the line items in tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that we can discuss.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Boucher, seconded by Ms. Meeker. I will just remind board members that, conversations haven't been had with staff members, and I know, and we don't know who the specific staff members might be because of seniority, because of attempts to look at early retirement incentives that the administration is working on. So, but we should just be careful that we try not to make this really specific, with the understanding that I expect there'll be a lot of conversations had within the schools in the next few weeks by administrators.
Are you good?
So we're handing out a list that has information that is consistent with what they have, which I think would be helpful for us to
Yeah.
have. So
We
we have this.
We already have
this all.
We have
This
this,
is the
yeah.
one that just has.
It came in the original.
Yeah,
It did, okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the one with the.
not the one we got over there, the one we got over here.
Yeah.
That was my concern.
Got it.
Okay, sorry about that. We're trying to be careful.
Right, and I think, to your point, Barb, like, we're doing our best to have as much conversation as we can have
Right.
around personnel, while being sensitive to the very wonderful people that
Sitting
work
right
in
in
our
front of us.
district and are sitting right in front of us, and so I think we're all doing our best,
Okay, I
to
didn't
handle
realize
this
was the
with
one that we
grace
had.
as much as possible. So we're all looking at the same sheet, it sounds like.
Yeah.
The motion currently on the table is to accept all tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think we're probably all in agreement that we'd prefer to do none of it, but we are where we are. I think posting something like this in our budget is an opportunity to tell our community what's going on, and what's at stake, so that we're not just talking about tax rates and numbers, we're talking about people. And sometimes people need to see things like this in order to generate that conversation. I'm not sure if tonight is the night to argue for specific positions. We will have opportunities to do so with community feedback. With that being said, I'm happy to discuss anything anybody wants to discuss.
Does anyone have any motions that they would like to make? I think I have questions about number 72 that we, based on some of our discussions, I'm not sure that that one has been fully baked yet. I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts on that.
I agree on that one.
Are you making a motion
And-
to?
I'm starting discussion.
Yeah, we're just having discussion. As I alluded to earlier, if I could remove some items from this list, my priority would be items 20 to 25.
And I'd add 19 to that. 19 to 25, yes.
Yes, apologies, 19 to 25.
Yeah. I'm sure
And I
Jack does.
realize it's $600,000 and that means 1% in the tax rate. I fully realize that.
And just, Jack, just to remind us, if we took everything on these, we've already taken all of this, if we took everything on this,
Yeah, if,
what are we looking at the tax rate, just
Yep.
so people
Sure.
understand?
So, if you could, and I just want to reiterate too, what's in the tier two also impacts tier one, so you couldn't necessarily take all of tier two, but if you did, because you asked that question, the rate, with just groups 1, 2, and 3 that night, and the tier one and tier two groups, you're still looking at a, $1.71 or 11.55%. And to get to your goal, to an initial goal, you'd still need another $6.65 million to get down to 5%.
Taking both of these, the non-personnel, all of the personnel that are here, we'd still need another
The
6
tier one
million
and
to
tier
get to
two
the
as of
5%.
the other night. you'd
Not
still
including
need
tier
another-
3 or 4.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just backing up to the night you did everything.
No, I'm
I-
asking if we took everything in front of us tonight,
Yeah, okay. Give me a
not
minute.
counting
Yep.
duplicates.
Yep.
Because we, understanding that our sheet has some, this could be this or that.
This or that, right.
Sure.
So,
A money amount is helpful as well.
Okay.
what the,
All right, so let me try this. If I take groups 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, so that is, all right, everything in here, forget the 20, that's an easy,
yeah.
that's a rounding issue. And then I also took tier 1, tier 2, just the one ad from the other night, which was a .20. And then 3 and 4, and you just said 5? Yeah, I might
We don't
hit.
have
I don't see a 5 anywhere.
Do you have a secret 5?
I was gonna say, is there?
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry.
6
Tier 4,
million.
tier 4.
What is the 5?
Tier 4, you'd be at $1.78 or 12.02% on the local rate.
So if we did everything, we're still at 12.
Again, you said get rid of duplicates and ones that might, so that's just in that tier 2, just that one ad, the .2. All right.
Wait, 12% is all 4 tiers plus the non-staffing reduction.
All 4 tiers, but in tier 2, there's a one ad.
Yes.
That's the only thing I took. I didn't take all of
Oh,
tier 2.
okay, not all, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's just,
Right.
Yeah,
Really,
there's too much uncertainty there, I
there's
get
no
it.
way, I mean, that
What's a
could
rough
be.
dollar amount of this though? Like, we're talking about taking a list of staff cuts off, and we have a dollar amount for that. What's the total dollar amount of these two?
Of this staff list,
Yeah, these both sides of this.
$6.57 million.
So it's roughly equivalent to the non-staffing.
Yep.
And even with that 12 million, we are still at 12% on the tax rate.
Right,
So-
because
For-
we were at 17 million to start with.
Can you go back and explain, I'm not catching what you're saying about what you're taking
All
and
right.
not taking from tier 2.
Here's what I'm gonna do to make it simple.
Tier
I'm gonna
two.
take everything. I'm just gonna take everything. Even though you can't take everything, I'm gonna take everything.
Well, I don't wanna do that either, but
Okay.
I'm trying to
Because I'm
understand.
The thing about tier 2 is some of it is contingent on buyouts. We don't know if people will accept buyouts. We got direction from board, that's perhaps something we could pursue and see if people who've already put in for consideration of retirement or individuals in our district who are close to that age, if they would have an interest of us negotiating a buyout for them. We can't, if we included tier 2, that's where we have that listed there. We don't know, we could have 2 people accept it out of the multiple listings there. So to Jack's point, tier 2's, tier 2 could have, some of them are associated with tier 1, and it would, depending on what the reduction would be, it could be of the person listed in tier 2, or it could be the person listed in tier 1. Some of them are contingent upon buyouts, so to throw all that money in there, it would be it could change drastically.
But so if we, that tier 2 is 2.5 million.
In value,
In
number
value.
48, when I was just explaining, that number 48 is the only ad, the only one that's accepted in that grouping, in the number I just mentioned, the 12.02% or $1.78.
Tier two, if you could do all of it, if is 2.15 million is what I have, because there's the
Duplicates.
the lottery duplicates and the extra, can I say that? And item 43, which is grayed out
Right.
on one version.
So, 2.1,
So if I do that, and if I could take it 2.1, you'd be at $1.48 or 10.01% on the local rate.
so in terms of posting the budget, the positions that we have here are about $800,000. The elementary and 72 that we've raised concern about, and then there was also there was also, I think, some concerns about potentially 69.
Yep.
I didn't include that in my count, so I came to about $800,000. What I'm wondering is if we approve the dollar value from these tiers that we know we can achieve, and hope that we can achieve the savings on tier two and start adding back in those other positions. So that, because if we can achieve tier two, we would offset a lot of that. And it might not be all of it, and we will continue, but I think in a couple of weeks, we'll, we will have a better idea of whether we can achieve, what we can achieve on tier two.
So 4 million as a,
What's the number,
that's
Jack?
what I get to roughly.
4 point.
So give me again, I'm going through and doing my
What is the dollar value that we would be approving with the addition in tier two from the, change, and then,
Tier one, tier two,
and the other,
tier 3 and 4.
yeah.
Yep, so let me, if I understand right, and I'm just trying to adjust this, so I'm gonna take out in tier one, I'm accepting everything except 19 through 20.
No, what we're talking about is accepting the dollar values and then hoping we can offset some of those specific proposals with savings from tier two, which
We're not
okay.
counting at this
we're now
time.
counting in this exercise.
Okay, so I'm not taking,
So 1.799
right,
plus 1.69 from tier 3
okay, yep,
and 1.099 from tier 4
yeah,
is
4
what
million.
I'm understanding.
Okay,
Is what I'm,
Right, and
Yep.
we're
Putting out there
not
for
counting the
discussion.
potential savings from tier 2.
right.
Which we may use to offset specific positions that are currently considered in tier 1, 3, and 4.
okay,
I would be on board with that.
What I'm saying is we set a savings goal.
Goal,
And
yes.
we try all the other ways to achieve it before we get
Yeah.
to here. So, I will make that as a motion, I guess, for discussion purposes.
Do we have a?
We have,
We have a motion.
and then we have a motion to this. I'm
So are you
making a
amend-
motion.
You're making an
To
amendment?
amend.
Okay.
Can I just make sure I understand? I'm sorry.
Yep.
So,
Well, maybe if I make the motion, it'll be
Oh,
understandable.
go
Like,
ahead.
so
Yep.
what I would move is to amend the existing motion to say that we're setting a goal of $4,034,540 in personnel savings, for the 26-27 budget. And that we further direct the superintendent to, in the next 2 weeks, to, get a better idea of what we can take out of the tier two of this, so that when we meet for the final budget, we might be able to make some alterations.
It's a wordy dang motion.
It is a wordy dang motion.
The first part of the motion,
Yes,
and
yes.
a separate motion
Yep.
to direct the superintendent to
That's fine.
provide information in the future.
Doesn't really have to. So is there a second?
I will second.
Ms. Minot seconds. Discussion.
So just to clarify for the folks at home, and the folks over there, and the folks in my head, we're basically saying, yes, this is the list from which we will work, and we want to reduce by this much money. And once we have a better handle on how tier two will bring those reductions about, we can then decide what cuts to make from the other places.
Yes.
Is that essentially it?
I think.
I mean,
that-
I just want it in layman's terms
Yep.
so that people understand what we're doing.
I think, for folks who aren't seeing the detailed list, we have a potential of $2 million in personnel reductions that wouldn't come from layoffs,
Right.
but would come from offering people early retirement or
Or retirements,
buyouts. And I would like to see
What
how
that
much
gets
of that we can get before we start cutting classroom,
Yep, yep.
more classroom
Excellent.
teachers.
I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
everyone, because that's,
That was really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, further discussion?
no, that was a good call.
And again, this is for the purpose of posting a budget publicly for public hearings. It doesn't mean that these are
No.
cuts that we want, and we need to get something out there for the public to review and to discuss and to comment on at public hearing.
Yes. Further discussion? Casey?
No.
All in favor
On the
Aye.
amendment?
on the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. The motion as amended, which is essentially, it was a replacement amendment, but all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. I do think, it is important, there are some creative things that the administration has come up with. They do not offset the losses in state and federal revenue. I think, Mr. Dunn, can you give us what the bottom line would be with those, of the budget? Not the tax rate, but the
Right,
actual budget?
right. So I'll need a couple minutes to
Okay.
just step in the
Because
room
I
and
think
just
we
can
need another
chat.
motion probably to post that
Yeah, I have
budget.
that, and
Yeah.
then I'm gonna need you all to sign this
Yeah.
document, because then they'll start doing their work tomorrow, because I have to post the state forms with them. So I'm gonna separate that. And make sure we got it, and probably you make sure I understand that I got it.
So are we taking a
So we're taking a,
Recess?
how much time do you need, Mr. Dunn?
Give me 10 minutes.
So we're gonna take a 10-minute recess. Out of recess. When we left, Mr. Dunn had a question, there was a question to Mr. Dunn about showing budget numbers based on the changes we've made.
Okay, so I didn't obviously get to everything, but I think I have it captured in there. So your expenditures that you started with is now down to 32,000 above the current general fund budget that you passed in October. So a 0.03% expenditure increase if you take the tier 1, the one item on tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 in that number, with the $4 million in reductions, okay? So that is that. Sorry for the thing again. Overall, between general fund, the grants, the capital projects, you're at 124,495, 242 this year. FY '27 overall 123,824,092, a decrease of 671,150, or a decrease of 0.54%. So let me move to the motion that you asked. And that would be that. Now, I put the caveat down the bottom that we were doing this on the fly. We were working to prepare ourselves, but in any of our haste, if something is not right, in this motion, we ask that you allow us to change it so that it does reflect your intent. So I'm just hoping that everything we did on the fly is correct. But that is the motion we'll need, and I'll need signatures. And then we'll review schedule of meetings.
I'm happy to. I propose that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Well, we can talk about it after.
Yep. Yep. I'm gonna read the whole thing just because. I move that the school board vote to post a preliminary 2026-2027 fiscal year budget for public comment with all funds totaling 123,824,092, with a general budget of 150,045,572 million, not billion, go Jess, appropriating 82,872,713.87 in local taxes and 7,617,387,000 in state taxes, inclusive of the following deposits and withdrawals to existing funds or expendable trust funds. Deposits, we have the list there: Vocational Capital Reserve Fund, Facilities Renovation Trust Fund, Food Service Fund, and also inclusive of the following withdrawals from expendable trust funds to fund appropriations: the Instructional Trust for the amount listed there, CRTC Capital Reserve. And then in addition, the board authorizes the administration to adjust the budget to reflect the intent of the board vote on the budget posted for public comment. The administration will update this motion language and update the board as its next work session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Higgins. Discussion.
Can I ask about the instructional trust fund? I didn't recall the number that we were talking about being that much. Was it?
Well, that is inclusive if we bought both programs.
Oh,
both the
that is
ELA
both programs
and the math.
and
Wasn't
the
just
borrow.
that.
It's
Okay.
up to, so we could be far under that if we want one program, and if we did it at 2 years, we could be below
No,
that. But that allows you, if you chose to do both, or it gives you options
Does
essentially.
that also include the borrowing from the instructional trust?
That's correct. It was $1,048,000 when we proposed it, and that was just the ELA program paying everything up front and the math. Now we have split those payments and then embedded the health risk reserve. So that's why it's $1,015,000, not $1,048,000 now. Still within that $1,048,000. And just to be clear too, the deposit into the vocational capital reserve is money collected from sending districts. So that's not a taxpayer thing. It comes in and then goes into a trust fund. So there's an expense and a revenue that wash out. Same thing for the CRTC Capital Trust. That is a different fund that is used to make improvements to the program. Part of that will be for the welding. So that does not affect the tax rate as well. But I have to appropriate it because it is something that needs to be done. Okay?
Can we explain the need for the transfer to the food service fund?
And so in order to support that fund not to be negative,
Because it doesn't pay for itself.
correct, it no longer
And
covers
so it is
itself.
transferred from the general fund?
Yeah, it's an up to amount too, in case it does run better, but that's what we're projecting it to be short.
Further, Ms. Meeker?
I think because we're gonna close out here after this, I really just wanna take a minute and say thank you to our staff who have been working on weekends and evenings and trying to come up with something reasonable for us to discuss. It has been seemingly unprecedented times, and I just wanna say that for those that aren't seeing what's going on in the background, so much work and thought has been put into this process, and I'm just deeply grateful for your guidance.
Welcome.
Ms. Higgins?
I'd like to echo Kara's sentiments here, but I'm going to echo it for the board. So I say it all the time. I've sat on 15 school boards, and there have been some years where the sentiments and comments and feelings around teachers and school district staff has been anything but positive. It's been very hard as a teacher to sit here and listen sometimes to things that are said. This conversation, every conversation we've had, a lot of our non-public conversations, I've never had 9 people, many of whom have no experience inside a classroom, show such honor and respect to everybody in our district, from custodian to superintendent. And I just feel like our community needs to know that, because it's not always been that way. So I would like to thank you guys for caring about us.
Other comments? I'd like to echo the staff and, this budget sucks. I'm just gonna say it. It's horrible. This is not why I ran for the school board. I want to be adding foreign languages and continuing to add, and, this is not what I was hoping to get to do, but I also know that, we cannot offer a 25% tax increase to, the people in this community. That they can't afford that. Where we are, the 12 is still really, really high, and it's a really trying to find that balance. I appreciate the, efforts to look at ways to create revenue. I do also, just one of the things in addition that is driving this budget and the tightness is not a good word because it's just so much more than tight, is that, last year there was no real growth in the city's valuation. So no new properties or economic development added to the value for Concord School District taxpayers. There was actually a little bit of a shrinkage with the state buying more buildings. To be conservative, we have assumed that that is gonna continue into next year. Hopefully it won't and things will look a little better, but we won't have that information to the fall. So, we will have 2 public hearings. I'm sure we will hear from people. There are big structural changes being proposed in addition to all the little things that are gonna affect kids and teachers and staff in so many different ways. Other comments? If not, all in favor? Does this need to be a roll call?
Please.
It should be.
Ms. Boucher, will you call the roll?
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Dubois?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Yes.
Ms. Meeker?
Yes.
Ms. Minot?
Yes.
Ms. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Dunn, do you want to go over the schedule for the next couple weeks?
Yeah, so I only did that because I was going to start with what you changed and then in case it changed again tonight. But this was the original schedule you had. This is the revised schedule. So on Wednesday night, we're proposing the technology, software, cybersecurity, and the curriculum instruction and assessment presentation. Then on the 16th, we're proposing enrollments. And then on the 18th, any follow-up that you have received from either from the public, board member comments that we still outstanding to you, we leave that night open for you. And then the 2 public hearings, and then open session after the public hearings to digest what you've heard. And then on Tuesday, I put that as Tuesday the 31st, if you want to keep it that way, unless you want to move it.
I would just add that on the 23rd, and we will actually start with a meeting, a public hearing on open enrollment, which we are required to do by state law. And then we will move into the public hearing on the budget.
So the, just remind me, is the open enrollment at 6?
Yes.
Okay.
And then as soon as that is concluded, we'll
Enrollment
move
together.
into the budget.
Okay.
Okay. This-
And we will be discussing open enrollment on the 18th, because there is numbers in the budget, but we haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about that at this point.
Okay.
And knowing that the legislature may blow up anything we do on open enrollment anyway, before the ink is dry on the budget.
Do you want to sign that?
Anything else?
I'm passing around the posting that will go up, if you're comfortable with that schedule, and then the signatures we need for the state form that we need to post.
And we're
the budget.
prepared with all of the new requirements under the state law for what we have to put
You mean the
out.
18 by 24 poster? Yes, we
Yeah,
cannot
18 by
wait to
24
get that
poster.
printed and up there on the board.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and all the
Also,
administrators.
just very quickly, thank you for this. I think this is very helpful. And I don't know where we're posting it, but.
We will update that for you, and, yeah. And, all the administrator salaries, the top salaries, they had to be posted in the budget, they are in the budget book, we will redo the book and put the stuff in it, but, yeah, we'll be ready. Danielle's done a good job on getting that ready, and, so.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins.
Second.
Second by Mr. DuBois. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. But don't leave before you sign the form.
Right.
Yes, please.
Gavelled out.
Oh, actually, we're all signing in the wrong place.
Well, we get another one here.
Oh, good.
That was a practice one.
There's a place that says signature, and I just